Hi, my name's Trish Roberts and you're listening to LiveVegan, podcast number 19. I wanted to share with you some excerpts of an interview with Professor Gary Francione in a magazine, The Believer, from February 2011. First question asked to Professor Francione. Most animal advocates encourage people to become vegetarians, yet you feel that promoting vegetarianism is a step in the wrong direction for reducing animal exploitation. Why do you feel this way? Gary Francione answers, there is absolutely no morally defensible distinction between flesh and other animal products such as milk or cheese. Animals used in the dairy industry usually live longer and are treated as badly, if not worse, than their meat counterparts, and they all end up in the same slaughterhouse anyway. The meat and dairy industries are inextricably intertwined. As far as I'm concerned, there is more suffering in a glass of milk than a pound of steak, though I would not consume either. Vegetarianism as a moral position is no more coherent than saying that you think it morally wrong to eat meat from a spotted cow, but not morally wrong to eat meat from a non-spotted cow. We do not need any animal products for health purposes, and animal agriculture is an ecological disaster. The best justification that we have for killing billions of animals every year is that they taste good. That simply cannot suffice as moral justification. The Believer to Professor Francione. Many animal advocates approve of farms that raise animals in humane ways for consumption. Yet I understand you are opposed to these kinds of farms, and even to campaigns that work to improve the lives of animals on factory farms, such as Proposition 2 in California, which prohibits the use of some kinds of battery cages for chickens. Why are you opposed to campaigns like these? Isn't it better to at least treat the animals humanely if we are going to use them? Gary Francione. I think that people who advocate such practices actually do more harm than good by perpetuating the fantasy that we can somehow tidy up the concentration camps and make the institutionalized exploitation of sentient beings morally acceptable. It is always better to do less harm than more. If you are going to murder someone, it's better not to torture her as well. A concentration camp with comfortable beds is better than one without, but this approach neglects a fundamental question about the moral legitimacy of the underlying activity of treating animals as human resources. For those who support these supposed reforms, the issue is how we use animals. For me, the issue is that we use animals. I'm opposed to animal welfare campaigns for two reasons. First, if animal use cannot be morally justified, then we ought to be clear about that and advocate for no use. Although rape and child molestation are ubiquitous, we do not have campaigns for the humane rape or humane child molestation. We condemn it all. We should do the same with respect to animal exploitation. Second, animal welfare reform does not provide significant protection for animal interests. Animals are chattel property. They are economic commodities. Given this status and the reality of markets, the level of protection provided by animal welfare will generally be limited to what promotes efficient exploitation. That is, we will protect animal interests to the extent that it provides an economic benefit. And if you look at the history of animal welfare reform, you will see it fits this model. For example, the Humane Slaughter Act of 1958 was nothing more than a recognition that large animals who were not stunned at the moment of slaughter would cause injuries to workers and incur costly carcass damage. The current campaign for gassing chickens is based on the lower costs of gassing over current methods of slaughter. The campaign to eliminate the gestation crate is based on the increased production efficiency of alternative methods. The Believer to Gary Francione. What is the difference between an animal abolitionist and an animal welfarist? Gary Francione. An animal welfarist maintains that we should regulate animal use to make it more humane. Some welfarists believe that animal welfare reform will eventually lead incrementally to the abolition of use, or at least to significantly reduce use. I call those welfarists new welfarists because they claim to see welfare reform as a means to an end, in brackets, abolition, reduced use, end brackets, rather than as an end in itself. as an abolitionist is, as I have developed that notion, one who 1. Maintains that we cannot justify animal use, however humane it may be. 2. Rejects welfare campaigns that seek more humane exploitation, or single-issue campaigns that seek to portray one form of animal exploitation as morally worse than other forms of animal exploitation, in brackets, for example, a campaign that seeks to distinguish fur from wool or leather, end brackets. And 3. Regards veganism, or the complete rejection of the consumption or use of any animal products, as a moral baseline. An abolitionist regards creative, non-violent vegan education as the primary form of activism, because she understands that the paradigm will not shift until we address, demand, and educate people to stop thinking of animals as things we eat, wear, or use as our resources. The Believer to Professor Francione. What rights do animals currently have, and how would you propose to change them? Gary Francione. Animals are property. There are laws that supposedly protect animal interests in being treated humanely, but that term is interpreted in large part to mean that we cannot impose unnecessary harm on animals, and that is measured by what treatment is considered as necessary within particular industries, and according to customs of use, to exploit animals. The bottom line is that animals do not have any respect-based rights in the way that humans have, because we do not regard animals as having any moral value. They have only economic value. We value their interests economically, and we ignore their interests when it is economically beneficial for us to do so. At this point in time, it makes no sense to focus on the law, because as long as we regard animals as things, as a moral matter, the laws will necessarily reflect that absence of moral value and continue to do nothing to protect animals. We need to change social and moral thinking about animals before the law is going to do anything more. The Believer to Professor Francione. Do the lives of non-human beings matter the same as the lives of human beings? Gary Francione. I'm not sure what you are asking here. Do the lives of all human beings matter the same? The answer is clearly no, in that we treat human beings very differently based on certain considerations, some of which cannot be justified as a moral matter. We do, however, believe that all human beings, irrespective of their particular characteristics, ought not to be the slaves of other humans. We believe that no human should be treated exclusively as the resource of other humans. We have no rational or morally justifiable reason to deny this protection to sentient non-humans. We cannot justify treating any sentient non-human as our property, as our resource, as a thing that we can use and kill for our purposes. There are many animal advocates, including Peter Singer, who maintain that although animals have an interest in not suffering, they do not have an interest in their lives, because they are not self-aware. On this view, animal lives do not matter at all, because killing animals is not per se a harm to them. Frankly, I find this view to be wrong and rather bizarre. In any event, the issue of moral value of animal life is a complex matter that does not lend itself to a short answer. I have 2 books, Animals as Persons, Essays on the Abolition of Animal Exploitation, and Introduction to Animal Rights, Your Child or the Dog, which deal with this very matter. Thanks for listening. You can find out more about Professor Gary L. Francione on Facebook, on his page facebook.com/abolitionist approach, and on our Facebook site, LiveVegan. That's facebook.com/LiveVegan. You can also find me on Twitter, twitter.com/LiveVegan. And if you're not vegan, go vegan. It's easy, it's better for you, for the planet, and most importantly, it's the morally right and just thing to do. Till next time, bye for now.